Welcome to Rocky Mountain Marketing. I'm your host, Katie Brinkley. Join us as we dive deep with the world's leading digital marketing experts every single Tuesday. It's all about giving you the strategies that are working right now, directly from those who are making an impact. With my 20 years of experience, I'm here to help you navigate the world of digital marketing. Whether you're looking to sharpen your skills or transform your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started on today's journey to success. Welcome back to this week's episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing. Today's guest I met for the very first time in San Diego, California at Social Media Marketing World. I love this event because I meet so many great other social media enthusiasts. We all are social media nerds. We love geeking out about different strategies and platforms and posts and hashtags. And this guest, we really bonded. Well, she had an amazing presentation, but we really bonded on a bus. Yes, folks, today's guest has amazing fashion sense and style when it comes to all things 90s. And she and I had the opportunity to really tear it up on the bus with our cool outfits for Social Media Marketing World's amazing after party. We really bonded after that and got to talking even more about social media strategies. I went to her session. She wrote this amazing book, The Business Gold, which helps you build awareness, authority, and advantage with LinkedIn company pages. Yes, folks, we're talking LinkedIn company pages today and how you can maximize them, if you should use them. Today's guest is none other than Michelle Raymond. Michelle, thank you so much for joining me on Rocky Mountain Marketing today.
It is my absolute pleasure. And can I just say, it's a big deal that I wasn't just coming locally to that conference. I was coming from the other side of the world. So I think it makes it even more special that we got to connect and even got a signed copy of your book, which I was fangirling about and have since obviously read. So yeah, it was pretty amazing. But yeah, we definitely got the Best Dressed Awards. And yeah, it was so much fun. So almost as fun as LinkedIn company pages are for me, which is not what most other people in the planet say, Katie. Just throwing that out there. Some people kind of think I'm a little crazy, and that might be true.
You might be a little crazy. Yes, it is definitely not the sexiest social media avenue to talk about and be passionate about, but it's really important. I think that so many people are confused about whether or not a LinkedIn company page actually works. And two, Facebook business pages have really kind of hurt the whole company, business, organic social media conversation because Facebook business pages are just so far down on the totem pole. But I loved what you shared in your presentation at Social Media Marketing World because it is still a very valuable place for content creation. I was going to say company camaraderie, but company culture. And why, let's just put it out there. Why, out of all the things, have you made LinkedIn company pages your thing? Like you said before, it's not the sexiest spot on the social media atmosphere.
It really isn't, and I confess that as well. I'm with everybody else, but here's what happened. If I look back to my career, I used to sell raw materials and ingredients that go into beauty products. And so when I started my job, I started to create content around that as a way to reach more of my customers who were spread around Australia, which is the size of the US. So imagine having a country the size of the US. They gave me 80 customers in a new industry, 10,000 different ingredients, and told me to go and sell. Now, I live in Sydney, which has the traffic of LA. You don't want to be jumping on planes going from one side of the country to the other. So I went, you know what? Maybe I can do a post on LinkedIn. And that's how I got started around 10 years ago. But where do company pages come into this? Well, what happened was I built an amazing community around 6,000 strong, just niche around that industry. Guess what happens? The company that I worked for wouldn't listen to me, didn't create anything for the company brand. And then what happens when Michelle basically one night, like a thief in the night, gets her new job and takes her 6,000 followers with her, and the company was left with no presence on LinkedIn. So that was where the first seed got planted. But it wasn't until later on when I started my own business, and I didn't even really want to be an entrepreneur. I just have to throw that out there. I literally went from the highs of getting a $2 million order from a LinkedIn post to quitting 2 weeks later. And so the highs and the lows. And I was like, that's it. I'm not working for anyone else. So what was obvious to me is I could help other people with LinkedIn. And how that came up, it's a kind of funny story. I went to one of my old clients and I'd written a training program that was specific because I quit in March 2020, that pesky COVID time, peak COVID. And I said, I've written this training program. And she looked at me with desperation and said, Michelle, can't you just write content for me like you do for everyone else? And in my head, I'm going to confess, I was like, is that even a job? And so I tap, 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 went onto LinkedIn. How can I do this for someone else? Oh, company page. I can be a page admin. And so that's where it started. And then I looked around and no other LinkedIn trainers were talking about company pages. And I was like, you can't just ignore this 50% of the platform. Like, what is going on here? And so I decided that I would be the person that would own that space. And that was around 4 years ago. So to think LinkedIn's just had its 21st birthday, I'm only coming into the picture as a qualified expert in this niche 4 years ago, co-writing the world's first book on it 4 years ago. It is crazy. That's how much company pages were lagging behind on LinkedIn. So yeah, that's how I got here. It's kind of cool to be the person. It's how I ended up on stage at Social Media Marketing World. And yeah, I just really believe that we've got to have personal brands and business brands built on LinkedIn for maximum result.
Oh man, I love it. Because no one's up until I met you, no one's really talking about this, Michelle, and it is such an important part. Why do you think, before we dive into how to actually maximize your LinkedIn company page, and if you should have it, I know the answer is probably going to be yes, but why do you think that the LinkedIn company pages kind of have gotten a bad rap over, I want to say maybe the past 3 years, when maybe past 4 years, when all of us were shut down in our houses and we all of a sudden had the time to start building that personal brand?
One of the huge upsides of COVID was that everybody took their ad budgets off other social media platforms and brought them across onto LinkedIn. It was almost like the gold rush for LinkedIn ads. Now, what we saw was LinkedIn company pages from a LinkedIn perspective. They used to have a team of 4 or 5 people. They didn't really care about it. Now that team's roughly 50 people, give or take. Now, they put more priority on it, which meant we got lots more new features. So, thanks to all those people that placed ads around that time, there was money to invest, and LinkedIn realized, hang on a minute, if we improve these, maybe more people will spend money on ads. We've seen that trend continue over time. So, LinkedIn didn't do a great job of that. Now, we just have to throw something out there, Katie, before we go any further, because I can hear people that are listening, I can hear their minds going, Michelle, but company page reach isn't as far as a personal post. So if you post on your company page, post on a personal profile, the simple fact of the matter is they won't go as far in most cases. Now, I'm not talking about the huge company pages with, 15,000 employees that all get together and they got big brands and big budgets off the platform. But for the most part, everyday people, everyday businesses, what's happening is if you've got a choice, which one's going to reach further, you're always going to pick personal profile. So I'm here to tell you, I absolutely agree with that. I can't change it. I don't have any secret sauce to magically change LinkedIn's algorithm, but it doesn't mean you should cut off your business brand. It is the thing that unites your team, like you shared at the beginning. It's how we attract the best employees to come and work for us. And if we just look at it beyond comparing post numbers, you can see that there's a lot more functionality that can complement your employees or yourself building your personal brand. So I think it's our posts don't perform as well, which brings people into a closed mindset, then therefore they don't work at all. And yeah, hopefully we can shift that today.
That's the thing is with Facebook, if you have 1,000 followers, your post is going to be shown to like 10 to 35-ish people organically because they know that you have money, right? We're all in it to make money. They're like, oh, you're a business, give us your money. So with what you've learned, what do you think on that? and I know I keep going back to Facebook, but I feel like what they do kind of does a trickle down effect of people's mindsets to other platforms because they are the biggest. So, what do you see as far as reach wise between a company page on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so you are right. They do basically follow a very similar trend. And those kind of numbers, it might be a little bit higher at the moment, but those kind of numbers are probably relevant. We know that if a post is done out in the feed, if you have a look, probably personal posts, you can see most of them, and it's roughly four personal posts. Then you see an ad, then probably another four personal posts, you'll see another ad, and then somewhere down there, there's a company page post. If you have a look at your own feed, so
Mhm.
the numbers are probably simply, something like you've just mentioned there. But what I want people to start looking at is because I can again hear people go, well, why would I bother, Michelle? What is going on? Because the main difference is here, Katie, that people are going to be doing their research. They're going to be looking at your business going, when I'm ready to hand over my money, sure, I've loved dealing with Katie, but is the business legit? Is the business really going to back up what Katie's been telling me? And so I'd rather people look at their company page a little bit different. And I call it your greatest hits library. Now, what I mean by this, I'm Gen X, so I'm, turned 48 this year. And I remember when I was younger, I did buy a few records, but let's fast forward to CDs. Now, when I was younger, I would save all of my money up to buy a CD. And on that CD, there'd probably be 30 tracks, and I'd like three of them. But you had to buy the whole lot just to get the good songs. Now, I loved when that artist had been around long enough that you could buy the greatest hits library. So, all your favorite songs, so all killer, no filler, as someone said to me one day. And so, what I want you to think about is your company page is going to be your greatest hits library for your business. So, it means that you don't have to reinvent and create new content all the time, but take the best of the best content that you already have proven works over on your personal side and put it there. So, when people visit as a destination, because they want info, all they get is the best version of your business that backs up what they've already seen. And so, if we change the context for how we view the company page, all of a sudden we see it has a different way of working. We're not comparing apples and oranges, and we can really make it perform for our business. So, greatest hits library all the way. And for the record, my favorite album is Roxette's Greatest Hits. But yeah, just think about whatever your favorite album is, and it just changes the context.
I love that. And I think that it's definitely not the influencer framework, of posting more, 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 just posting the good stuff. Just give people the good stuff. Give people what they want to see. You mentioned earlier that the company pages have really evolved over the past few years because a lot more people are trying to pay more attention to their company page. So with this, there's new features that have been rolled out specifically for the LinkedIn company pages. What are some of those cool features that the company pages offer that people might not be aware of?
Yeah, and a lot of these features have only been around for the last couple of years. And so if you haven't paid attention to your company page, it's worth going back and having another look at it just to see what's out there. So even just things like newsletters and LinkedIn Live, I think they're two things that everyone should be paying attention to on their company page, especially if you've got more than 1,000 followers, is probably my disclaimer. If it's brand new and you've neglected it for a while, probably not the right tools. But in the most part, we can build subscribers and build community, which I know you and I are both super fans of. You got the opportunity to repurpose. You and I, we're on the same page there as well. And so, from this perspective, I think there are a couple of features that we should have a look at. Now, there's one thing that's just being rolled out as we speak right now, which I got to tell the listeners I love company pages, but I'm not a fan of this. This is the new premium company page option that's being rolled out. So it works out if you buy an annual membership through LinkedIn, it's roughly $100 a month. It's probably going to be more in Australia. That would turn out to be about $160 here a month. Now, for the features that you get, it is an absolute waste of money. And I'm so sad because I'm not anti LinkedIn making money. I want to pay for premium options and premium features. But what they did is almost copied what you get on your personal profile and tried to, kind of squeeze that into matching over on the company page side. And there's really not a lot of features that are worthwhile paying for. And I was kind of disappointed. I was waiting for maybe we'll get some new analytics or reporting or be able to manage our pages more internally without going to LinkedIn Help, removing rogue employees and things like that. But unfortunately, in this round, that's not what happened. But one thing that they are testing, which you will love because you and your clients all love podcasting, is
Mm-hmm.
that they are currently testing and in development of having RSS feeds. So podcasting, YouTube, think that directly going onto company pages. So that one's not here yet, but it is getting closer to becoming something that's out there. And that's something I am excited. So, swings and roundabouts, there can't be everything to everyone. But yeah, the premium company page, I'm not so sure on. Try it. They give you a free trial, but don't forget to cancel it if it's not
Yeah.
working. That's the only things that I would say. But yeah, the RSS feed coming up, that one I am a bit excited about.
That'd be really cool. I know a number of my clients would also think that that's really cool because it's another way to grow your brand authority. I think that too, Michelle, we talked about this earlier is with having that culture and that community. Like you said, that's something that you and I are both really passionate about. Having that hub is really important for your employees to say, I work here. It's something that they want to be a part of. They not even necessarily to get new leads and new clients, but they want to see your post to see what's happening at their business, at their company. How do you really help people get their employees to be engaged and wanting to even mark down that they work for your business on LinkedIn?
You're absolutely right. And what I love on company pages, if you have a team of more than 10 people, there's an actual tab called the My Company tab, which is almost like your own internal intranet on LinkedIn, where only employees that have verified email addresses can access what's going on LinkedIn for your team. So you can see what colleagues are doing, what they're posting, the anniversaries, who's new starters. Like, it's a really cool place to stay up to date, especially for some of these multinational companies where you might not know what's going on overseas with your colleagues. There's always, the more that you can bring the brand together and build that culture, it just shines everywhere. It's the reason why people say in their LinkedIn headlines, formerly Microsoft or worked
Uh-huh.
at Google, or they're proud of working for these blue chip kind of brands. And so you
Yeah.
want to be that blue chip brand in your industry. And bringing everyone together, employees is a great place. So if you can get them active and give them something in return, it's not just take, like everyone talks about employee advocacy, the employees, just absolutely, they should want to line up and just promote the business. And it's not quite that easy because most people I've found, they're scared of being on LinkedIn. There's so
Yeah.
much fear around being judged by my peers, my colleagues, my competitors. What if it impacts my job? What if I lose my job? I'll lose my house. I can't feed my family. That's the cycle that people's brains are in. So you've got to walk with people wherever and meet them where they're at and show them what's in it for them. Maybe it is a pay rise, maybe it's a promotion. Think
Mm.
about what's in it for your employees. So I say to page admins that might be listening to this, if you run the company page, your job is, as the company page admin, to be the biggest cheerleader for any employees that are out there posting, and make sure your company page goes and comments and likes the post. Every employee, you are first person there cheering them on. Why? Just like everywhere else on LinkedIn, what goes around comes around. You want them to engage with the page, show them how it's done and lead the way. And, really, the more that you do that, it's not just your employees that show up. All of a sudden, key players in the industry show up. Maybe your customers show up. Maybe regulatory people. Every industry's got a whole bunch of associations or regulatory people that are complementary. And then there might be products and services that are complementary that come in as well. And so you just want to be those nightclubs that have lineups out the front. That's what you're creating for your company page. I know it can be hard to imagine that a page could be that, but it's all about that sense of community. And again, you and I will always keep coming back to that. How do you build a community? And your company page really can serve as a hub for that.
And now for a quick break. We've all heard that AI can change the way that you do business. If you have a podcast, if you have a YouTube channel, are you repurposing your long form content to its full capabilities? And that's where Capshow comes in. Check out Capshow and how they can help you create more content by visiting katiebrinkley.live/Capshow today and start using Capshow and AI to work smarter, not harder. All right, let's get back to the show. Michelle, I couldn't agree more. And I think that a lot of people we need to schedule an intervention with my husband on actually being on LinkedIn because he's very afraid of it. I don't know why. It's my favorite platform. I love LinkedIn. I love the way that people talk on it and connecting, but I mean, he's one of those people that's afraid to have any presence on LinkedIn at all. He's like, oh, well, if I'm active on LinkedIn, people are going to think I want a new job. I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not what it is anymore. It's evolved beyond that. But I think that a lot of people, let's say that they're proud of their business, proud to say that, hey, I work at XYZ company. We're showing from this company page our highlights. We're posting the content that is our best content that's been proven to work. I think there's been a lot of back and forth as to, do you ask your employees to share it with their thoughts? Do you ask them to just repost it? Do you ask them just to like it and comment on it? Because let's be real, the LinkedIn algorithm is like Facebook 2014. It still gets pushed out in the feed. So what is the best way for your employees and your team or your staff to engage and help get your content seen by more eyeballs?
If we take your husband as an example at one extreme and you and I at the other extreme, imagine every employee is somewhere along that spectrum. And we have to be conscious and mindful of where people are at. So I know that there's lots of stuff that goes out on LinkedIn that says, don't repost, it doesn't work, or don't do this, it doesn't work as well, or get everyone to comment is the ultimate goal that we're trying to do here. I appreciate all of that from a LinkedIn perspective. But when I'm working with clients, I'm here to help them get their business active on the platform sustainably over the long term. Now, what that means is meeting people where they're at. Now, I was working with some clients yesterday, and one of them had been trolled absolutely hardcore earlier on another platform, and the thought of posting was never going to happen. She wouldn't have a bar of it, but she's very happy to support somebody else that did. And so I asked her, would you be comfortable pressing the like button? She said, yeah, absolutely. As long as it's not my post, I'm in. And I said, would you be okay with this? So hitting repost. Yeah, absolutely. As long as it doesn't go out under my name. So, the company page post, no problems. Someone else's post, no problems. We had new people that had never really used LinkedIn in the training session. So what do we do for them? Baby steps. And so we meet people where they're at. And for some people who are more experienced, they're going to be happy to post. For others, they're going to be happy to repost or repost with their thoughts, which is another alternative of sharing. And so for me, I never want to force people to say, thou shalt comment. If you don't comment, like, the world's going to end. The fact is, the world doesn't end. The world does end if you force people to try and take actions that they're not comfortable with. And those fears that we spoke about, your husband actually in the majority of people. Online studies show that roughly, 90% of people fall in that category. Now, give or take, platforms might have a bit of difference, but he's the majority. Roughly 9% are out there okay to like and comment occasionally. That leaves only really 1% of people who are comfortable being creators like you and I do, active on the platform. So realistically, we're the minority, he's the majority. And if you think about your business, it's exactly the same. So I say meet people where they're at and try and get them to just take one jump along. If they're just a lurker, i.e., don't press any buttons, don't let people know they're on the platform, just ask, would you be okay just to like the company page post as a starter? And then when they're comfortable, see if they'll take that next step. But I found it's just sustainable over the long term, and no one likes to be forced into doing anything. Let's be
Right?
clear, that's not a strategy. Force is not a strategy on social or anywhere else that I've found.
It's so true. I've had my agency for 7.5 years. I'm like, if you need help, like, I can help you. It's like, no, 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 it's okay. I'm just good being like you said, a lurker over on Facebook. He's not even on Instagram. So, I mean, it's interesting that such
Look,
different lives.
I have the same in my household as well, and I've worked with many clients. I remember one person sat in the training, arms crossed, they're under duress because everyone was doing training. And the questions that I got were just, cold as ice. And I was like, whoa. But this person was a senior leader in the business. But then as we worked over 12 months, then all of a sudden he reached out and said, I think I need to get my profile updated. And I was like, I nearly fell off my chair. I was like, you? Wow. Because he'd seen the power of it, of what it had done for their business and how he could play a part in supporting his team. That was all about leading by example. And so you never know where people will be, but they
Yeah.
don't have to be perfect on day one. I think if you have empathy and set real expectations of people, that's how it will continue to grow over the long term. Because let's be clear, there is no end date to the actions that you take on social in this, what we're trying to achieve. So, what's the rush? Why can't we just take things slow and then work our way up? So,
One
yeah,
million
it's
percent. I couldn't agree more. And it's the way that you show up on, I love that story about working with someone just and they're very distant about wanting to do it and then seeing the power of it once you decide to go in with the strategy. With company pages, you're building out that brand thought leadership, and if you have a strong brand thought leadership, the people at the company are going to start looking at their own personal brand and saying, does and what I'm posting on social media reflective of the company that I work for? How do you, as we kind of start wrapping up today's episode, gosh, I could talk with you on this we might need to have you back for another episode, but how do you build out that brand thought leadership to show that you are a trusted person in your industry that makes, like you said, people put on their taglines and their headlines like former Microsoft or former Dish Network, whatever, that people want to have your business as part of their headline because they have that pride with your brand's leadership.
Yeah, so if you go and have a look, there's a really amazing report called the Edelman Thought Leadership Report, where they basically did a lot of investigation into the power of thought leadership for brands. And essentially, if you think about it, a business exists because someone out there in the world wants to pay money for a problem to go away. Now, the problem is if you jump onto Google and type in when you're doing your research, which we know B2B buyers now don't want to talk to salespeople. They're doing all their research, pretty much 70% of it before they even reach out. And so when they're going onto Google, you find blogs. And I don't know about you, Katie, but it drives me crazy when I want to, for instance, I want to buy a new camera that I can use to make my content. I jump online, I find a blog article, and I find the first one and read it. Okay, that's the pros and cons. Go to the next one, exactly the same pros and cons, pretty much the same layout, stuffed with the same keywords. And I can never find a unique perspective or something that doesn't feel like 10 carbon copies with different branding on it. Now, the opportunity is for brands who, by way of just being a much bigger business, should have access to collectively more subject matter experts and individuals within the business that have experience that you can leverage. You have a real opportunity to create some original thought leadership that really guides your buyers into feeling confident to make the decision to buy with your business. Now, the more that you do that, and I'm talking valuable stuff, not just wow, how can I get ChatGPT to quickly write me a blog article to tick a box? That's not what I'm talking about here. Do the work, use your people. That's why they are there. And then creating something of value, people will flock to that as part of their decision making. And I think that's where long form content on company pages. So you've got newsletters, is what, again, I come back to that. You
It's the
can use
best.
it to write these blog style articles, which are then indexed by Google as well. And we're seeing that LinkedIn is starting to push themselves as a news source, which is kind of interesting as Twitter starts to, or X is, a dumpster fire and people are going, where can I go? Because it was useful for that, for journalists to find quotes, to find people to talk to. Now we're starting to see some of that pop up on LinkedIn, which is kind of interesting. So I think spend the time, put the effort in, and leverage your employees. And really, that's such a great way to build their personal brands, to say, look, as a company, we recognize these individuals are amazing. and support them growing their personal brand in the industry as well. Because as a salesperson, as someone that spent 20 years in B2B sales, it is so much easier to walk out to a new customer backed by a brand that's trusted and has a great public perception, and just walk in and go, here's our products and services. And people aren't already put off by going, oh, aren't you those people that don't do this, that, and the other? You know, you walk in and it's like, oh, hi, so great to have you here, because they've already done their research. So, you know, and again, the more we start thinking about what is the company page for, it's not for popularity. I'll give you the handy tip. It's not a popularity contest. It is not how can we make a page work better than a profile. It is how do we get the best out of the page for the team. There's so many cool ways to do it. So yeah, hopefully today we've shifted some mindsets for people that have, you know, joined in and listening. I know that that's your listener base in general, is that they're coming to you for these kind of tips. But when we look at it different, it changes the actions that we can take, which is, you know, hopefully what people have taken away today, because that's something that I'm passionate about. It's just been so cool to be able to share that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think that Michelle, like, obviously you need to come back on because we only touch like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to LinkedIn company pages. I think it's honestly, people don't have the right strategy with the company pages, and it gets a little bit muddled between personal page, company page. Do I just go there to sell? Does it even work? Obviously, you have this amazing book, Business Gold, that was written by you. I have the second edition and it's autographed. So that's really cool. Check it out, grab it. We will have a link to it in the show notes if you want to actually use your LinkedIn company page for growth and success and having that brand awareness. I read this on the airplane home from San Diego. It's a no-brainer. Be sure to get Business Gold. Michelle, you have your weekly podcast, which I've been so honored to be a guest on. So check out Michelle's podcast. Where else can people learn more from you other than listening to Rocky Mountain Marketing when I bring you back on again someday?
I do hope they'll come back, because I think this will be the shortest conversation that you and I ever have. It's been a miracle for us to stay on topic, is all I'm going to say. But ultimately, come and find me on LinkedIn, Michelle J. Raymond. It's how you can find me in amongst all the other thousands of Michelle Raymonds. Come and find me there. I've got a YouTube channel that's got lots of how-to videos on how to get the most out of the company page. And it's the same name, at Michelle J. Raymonds. But please, if you've listened to this podcast, reach out. Tell me that you listened to it. I would love to be connected with people in this community, because extending that conversation is my favorite part of coming on shows like this and having conversations with people that are amazing like you, Katie. So thank you so much for having me on. And of course, I'll come back anytime that you want me. So hopefully I've shown that company pages don't have to be the uncool kid on the block. I actually think, I'm just going to throw it out there, I think LinkedIn's having a bit of a renaissance and it's starting to be the cool kid on the block. So
it is.
Just putting it out there.
Because they're not trying to be something they're not. At least right now. Gosh, if they start rolling out like too many like short form video feeds or anything like that, then we're going to be in trouble. But I love right now that, oh man, your face, you're like, uh-oh, Katie, it might be coming. So maybe I need to have you back on.
I was going to say, the short form video feed is coming. It's being tested. It's a TikTok style feed. So it's coming. It's already being tested. I've seen it. And let's not even talk about LinkedIn games, because that's the other one. I'm like, ew. No, it's the feature nobody asked for. But let's not go there. Let's end on the high. Company pages are awesome. I said so. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Of course. Yeah. Let's not even go into LinkedIn games. Hopefully that's a thing of the past here very soon. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for joining me today. Looking forward to having you again on Rocky Mountain Marketing. And thanks again for getting up early and joining us all the way from down under.
My pleasure. Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing. I hope you're leaving with valuable insights and the inspiration to lead your market. If you've enjoyed our time together and found today's podcast episode useful, I have a small favor to ask of you. Please hit that subscribe button to stay updated with the latest episodes. And if you know someone who could benefit from these episodes, maybe a fellow business leader or an aspiring entrepreneur, go ahead and share this episode with them. Let's spread the knowledge and grow together. Also, I'd love to hear from you and continue the conversation beyond the podcast. Visit me at katiebrinkley.com to connect, to find more resources, or just to share your journey. And be sure to pick up your copy of my new book, The Social Shift, at katiebrinkley.com/book. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Katie Brinkley, and I can't wait to dive into more strategies and stories with you on the next episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing. Let's keep on taking your marketing to new heights.